And have you got any advice that you would maybe give to, say, any of our younger listeners or people that have listened to this episode and are a bit more curious about space physics or even thinking about studying it?
I think the thing to do is follow your interest. We're very lucky now because there is so much readily accessible material out there on the internet. Obviously, we know that there is a load of rubbish out there as well, and so navigating our way around that, and as the younger generations do that as digital natives, is a skill in its own right. But being able to just explore science, cutting edge science, just so easily from your front room, from your armchair, from the bus, on your phone, I think is an incredible opportunity. I would always say, find something you're passionate and you're interested in and just go for it and just follow it. It's perfectly okay for one bit of science to be really, really exciting to you, more so than other things, because everyone's got their little dream area, and it's just really find what really excites you and go for it.
And then finally, do you have any photography tips for the Northern Lights?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. So I'm not an auroral photographer. What the good thing now is that mobile phones are incredible, and as we've touched on already, the development of mobile phone technology has made such a difference. So I've got some amazing photographs of the Northern Lights that we saw in May and October, and I'm not a great photographer. The phones are so good. Now the phone the lenses and the sensors in our phones are very sensitive to the green and red colours of the Northern Lights, so they do look really great on a phone. I have spoken to people in the past who've asked, are the Northern Lights not like that? Do they really like that in real life? And a really good display of the aurora, it looks amazing to your eyes. However, a very sort of average one can look really good as well if you take a long exposure photograph and you Photoshop it or tweak it. So you can do great things with digital photography as well. I noticed in the most recent event, I went out and I realised it was bright enough. I could see the colours, the structures and the movement whilst I was driving out to find somewhere dark with my headlights on the car. So it really was that bright to your eye. So digital is great because you can hold your phone up, you can see something faint in the sky and think, I'm not sure if that's the Northern Lights or not. And your eyes at very low light levels stop perceiving colour. And so you might see the Northern Lights as something almost like a cloud, a faint grey colour, and you hold your phone up to it and you actually start to see some colours and structure in there because your phone's more sensitive. Phones now are really great tools for aurora spotters to get some great snaps. And I think go and find somewhere as dark as you can. I used to say the problem with a mobile phone is that it's actually got quite a bright display on the front, and that can damage your dark perception. So that is a potential downside. On the other hand, I've now become convinced that that's outweighed by the fact that the phone is so good at seeing the Northern Lights, it's a really useful tool. If we slightly discount the last solar maximum 10 or 11 years ago, as it happens, that was a bit of a damp squib. The sun, even at its maximum activity, wasn't very active, and so we didn't get many auroral displays here in the UK. But the solar cycle before that, we did. So two solar cycles ago, which is about 22 years ago, we had similar levels of activity as we have now. But now we're talking about 2002. The iPhone was 5 years away. Twitter didn't exist. Facebook didn't really exist. So all these social media tools and the technology, the last time we were seeing this level of solar activity, they just didn't exist. And so now they do, which is why suddenly when we do get these Northern Lights displayed, there are some amazing photographs and everyone's heard about it. And once it goes viral, it's all over the media next morning on the breakfast TV and on the radio and on the newspapers. So now you just hammer away on your phone taking photos and everyone's got pictures of the Northern Lights. So it's incredible, really.
Thank you, Jim, for joining us. If anyone wants to follow you on social media, where can they find you?
If you do a Google search for Jim Wild, Lancaster University, you'll find me at the university's web pages, and then most of my social media links will pop up there. I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky and various other places as well.
Thank you. I'm Emma Townley, and this is Radio Gregson.
My name is Mike, and I tell stories and lore about Lancaster. But the story I'm going to tell you today goes all the way back, before the canal and the castle, back to the deep and deep down times, when Lancaster was just another bend in the river. You see, in these deep and deep down times, the human people, they hailed the beasts and the plants and called them friend. Of course, every so often, A wolf would gobble up his friend, the shepherd boy, or a hunter would snare the young child of his friend, the deer. But even human people, who were much more clever than wise, knew that of course you can eat your friends. Just don't eat them all. And one dark, wintry day in those deep and deep down times, a human girl was hungry and wandered into the woods for food. Following tracks and trails, she found a patch of soil and dug. She dug for her friends, the earthworms. For in those deep and deep down times, earthworms were seen as a most tasty morsel. She gobbled them up, one by one, until there was only one little earthworm left in that patch of soil. It writhed and it wriggled and it spoke. My greedy friend. Listen carefully, for earthworms speak quietly. Haven't you gobbled your fill? Let me tell you a tale before you guzzle me down too. Don't you know about earthworms? We were like you once. There was a thief who picked pockets with his clever fingers. But he was more clever than wise. They found him out. They chopped off his clever fingers, one by one. He died, probably. But those fingers wriggled off into the soil, taking all of his cleverness with them. All of a sudden, the little girl wasn't so hungry for earthworms anymore. She tenderly placed her friend, the worm, back in the soil and wandered on through the woods. Following tracks and trails, she found a patch of brambles. And she gorged on blackberries until the juice ran down her face like bloody tears. And when the brambles could take it no more, they spoke. My greedy friend, haven't you gobbled your fill? Blackberries are for all to share. So, let me tell you a tale before you guzzle down every single one. Don't you know about brambles? We were like you once. We were tall and lithesome, with sharp teeth and dark, dark eyes. We fought and killed one another until Mother Earth put her foot down and turned us into brambles. Our lithesome legs became woody stems, our sharp teeth thorns, and our dark, dark eyes blackberries. All of a sudden, the little girl wasn't so hungry for blackberries anymore. She hurried back into the woods, with those dark, dark eyes watching her every step. Following tracks and trails, she found another patch of low trees, and in a nest on a branch, she spotted the speckled eggs of her friend the blackbird. And one by one, she slurped them down. Until Mother Blackbird fluttered down upon her final egg. My greedy friend, haven't you gobbled your fill? Let me tell you a tale before you guzzle down every one of my children. Don't you know about eggs? They were like you once. They were the broken hearts of broken people. But Mother Earth doesn't let anything go to waste. She saves up those hearts for the yolks in my eggs. My children peck, peck, peck those heart yolks until they're strong little chicks ready to hatch